Hi guys, this is Miss Cairo here. This is lesson 2-2, unit 2, lesson 2. And for right now, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to open up your activity book to page 41. And I'm going to turn your attention to this place value chart. So page 41 in your activity book, go ahead and find this chart. And I'm basically going to go through row by row what the different elements of this chart is. Okay, so we have a place value chart here. In the first row, we have the names of each of the place values. So I'm going to say them out loud. And once I say them, I'd like you to repeat after me. Okay, so thousands, hundreds, tens, ones. Are you repeating after me? Tenths, hundredths, and thousandths. Do you see how I'm putting a lot of emphasis on those THSs for these three? Yeah, because they're so similar from thousands, hundreds, and tenths that we need to put those emphasis on the ths at the end so that whoever is listening to us as we're saying these numbers out loud knows, in fact, if we're talking about the place value, that we're distinguishing between tens and tenths. Okay, so that's on the first row. And again, this chart doesn't have it, but our place value chart that we use in class has this. Where do I place the decimal? What two place values does the decimal fall in between? The ones and the tenths. Okay, so anything to the left of the decimal are whole numbers. Anything to the right of the decimal are values that are less than one whole. And then when we look in the next row, that goes along with basically what I just said. So on this side of the decimal, thousands, hundreds, tens, and ones, we have four different numbers here. And these numbers go along with our place value. So underneath thousands, we have 1,000. Underneath hundreds, we have 100. Under tens, we have the value of 10. And under ones, we have 1. Okay. And you'll notice for each of these numbers, they have a decimal at the end of them. We normally wouldn't do that when we're writing out like a whole number that has no digits after the decimal, but the chart does this so that we are aware that that where the decimal is in terms of these numbers. Okay, and you'll notice each of these they start off with the number 1, and then they're followed by a certain amount of zeros depending on their place value, and then it stops at the ones place value. Okay, and then to the right of the decimal, we have 1/10th, 100th, and 1,000ths written in decimal form. And we worked quite a bit with those yesterday. And then we're going to relate these numbers in decimal form to fraction form. So on the next row, we have numbers that are written in fraction form. And what I'd like you to do, take a look at the numbers that are worth more than one whole. So 1,000, 100, tens, and ones. You'll notice, what do they have as their denominators? 1. Okay. Anytime you're writing a whole number as a fraction, you can represent it as a fraction by just putting 1 as its denominator. So 10 ones is in fact equal to 10 wholes. Okay, 100 ones is equal to 100. So if I said like a random number, 39 ones is equal to 39. Okay, so anytime you see a denominator with 1, it can be rewritten as a whole number. And basically what you do is you just take that numerator and turn it into the whole number. Okay, so that's for that. And then take a look at the fractions for the place values that are less than one whole. So we have 1/10th, 100th, and 1,000th. And again, we were practicing quite a bit with converting these. These are equivalent. They're just written in decimal and then in fraction form. And then on the last row, we have what these place values go along with our money. Okay, so I'll start off with one whole. Think of $1. And then as we increase or go 10 times 10 times larger, so each time we go to the next place value going to the left, we're getting 10 times bigger. $1 times 10 gives us $10. And with our currency, we could exchange that $1 bill for a $10 bill. Okay, $10 times 10 is 100. $100 times 10 is 1,000. So each time we go up in a place value or to the left in a place value, our number is increasing by 10. Going the other way now, if we start off with $1 and we go to the right, the next place value over to the right is tenths. So 1/10 of a dollar is 1/10. Okay, so if I were to split this dollar up into 10 pieces or exchange it for 10 dimes, 1 dime would represent 1/10. Okay, so 1/10 of a dollar is equal to 1 dime. If I were to go from my ones to my hundredths place value, if I were to exchange $1 and I want to make it 100 times as small or divide it by 100, I would split this up into into 100 pieces, and the money that I would exchange it for would be 100 pennies. 1/100th of a dollar is in fact 1 penny or 1 cent. And then, like I described in the last video and what we were studying in the previous lesson, we don't have any monetary coins that go along with the thousandths place value, but we are going to be working with numbers quite a bit that have a thousandths, that will have a digit in the thousands place. So what I'd like you to do is if you're thinking of money in terms of 1,000ths or thousandths, it would be as if we were to split this dollar bill into 1,000 pieces. And how we could do that is we'd exchange it for a penny or 100 pennies, and you would take each penny and we would saw them into 10 pieces. So if we're looking at 1/10, it would represent 1,000th of a dollar or 1,000 cents. And it would take 10 of these pieces of a penny to, again, build up going the other direction to a penny. Okay, so that's the chart. Thanks so much for following along. We're going to get into working with our secret code cards. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to need to gather material. You're going to need a pair of scissors. And you're going to need some sort of baggie or something to put these little cards into. So I have a Ziploc bag. If you have a Ziploc bag at home, great. If you don't, just problem solve. Do you have a different type of little baggie? Okay. Do you have a paper bag you could just put it in for now? A little box maybe, something to just keep yourself organized. And here's what you're going to do. You're going to flip the page in your activity book. And you're going to find pages 42A, 42C, and 42E. You are going to cut along the dotted lines for all 3 of these pages in your activity book. So what I did, I already cut mine, is I actually tore out the 3 pages first, and then I got to cutting, okay? So take a moment, find page 42, carefully rip out that page, go to page 42C, carefully rip out that page, and then go to 42E, carefully rip out that page. And I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to cut along the dotted lines. And as you're cutting, I want you to notice a few things. We're going to be looking, what do the colors on these cards represent? Take a look at the numbers in the right-hand corner. Take a look at the back of your secret code cards and see what's on the back. Okay, so what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you, once you have all your materials ready and you have those 3 sheets of papers out, I'm going to have you pause the video. And again, you should be cutting at a good speed here. You have 5 minutes to cut out each of these secret code cards, cut along the dotted line. Your 5 minutes starts now. Go ahead and press pause and then press play again when you are all done. So press pause. Okay, if you're listening to my voice again, are all your secret code cards cut out? I hope so. Okay, if not, you need to pause again. So all my secret code cards are cut out, so are yours. You are going to need a table, or to get down on the floor, you need some kind of a surface to be rearranging these secret code cards. So find a spot. I'm at a desk. It works out well for me. Are you at a desk? If not, are you at a table? If not, you need to get down on the ground. You need to be able to shuffle through these cards. And here's what I'd like you to do. Did you notice that there's two different colors? What do the blue colors represent? Numbers that are greater than one whole. And the green cards represent values that are less than one whole. And I'd like you to make two little piles, and I'd like you to have your secret code cards in a blue pile and a green pile. And I'd like you to spread them out a little so that you can easily kind of search through them. And I'd like you to have them face up so that you can see their number value on your surface. So for example, mine looks like this. I have a blue little pile, a green little pile. I don't have too much room for mine. I like you to space them out a little so that if I'm asking you to find certain numbers, you can easily find them. So again, if you need to press pause to get yourself organized, go ahead and do that. Green pile, blue pile, numbers facing up. And on a flat surface, a little bit of space in between your cards. And I'm going to have you search through and find some cards to create a number that goes along with something in our book. So again, press pause if you need to. And I'm all situated and I'm all organized, so I'm going to get started. So what I'd like you to do is, again, my book is opened up to page 41. Get yourself organized with your book near you as well. And it says, use your secret code cards to make numbers on the frame. So they have a frame here that goes along. They have your place values all sorted out. And we're basically going to be creating numbers with our secret code cards. And I'm just going to use the example that the book gave. Let's create this number with our secret code cards. So the number is, how you fluently say this number out loud, is 5 and 34/100ths. You need 3 cards to create this number, and your cards should mirror or should look like the cards that are in your book. So for the 5, I'm looking for a 5 that is blue. I'm looking for 5 ones. So I already found mine, 5 ones, and then when I flip it over, I see 5 $1 bills. And I also have the little 5 in the corner. So 5 ones. And then go over to your green cards, and I want you to find 3 tenths and 4 hundredths. And 3 tenths look like this, 0.3. On the back, it has 3 dimes. So that, and then 4 hundredths, you're going to look for the card that's 0.04. And then on the back, it has 4 pennies. Okay? So I have all 3 of my cards. And basically what you can do in the frame is when you put them all together, you're basically going to overlap them and create the number 3 and 34/100. So when I overlap all of mine, that's what mine looks like. Does yours look like mine? And the whole point of these secret code cards, boys and girls, is now that we're in 5th grade, this is getting, place value is getting much more easier. But we're using them so that if you were to see this number without the secret code cards, 5 and 34/100ths, you should know that this 3 in the 10th spot, that does not represent 3 ones. That represents 3 tenths. And how we can always refer back to decimals is as if we were looking at them in money form, okay? So 3 tenths, and I see it on the back of my picture, represents 3 dimes, okay? So what we might see some errors as some students create secret code cards. For example, let's say I accidentally chose the 3 from my blue 3, and I said, sure, this is a 3. I can easily use this to build this number. This 3 in the number 30 is very different than 3 tenths. This represents not 3 dimes, it represents 3 $10 bills or $30. So it's really important that you are choosing the card, yes, the correct digit, but the digit that's in the correct place value that we're building upon. Okay, and we're going to do some practice with this with another one. Okay, so Again, you can bold your numbers within that. We'll play around with it a little in class, and then this can always be a good activity for you to play around with at night. Have a family member give you a random number with a decimal in it, and you can build that number with your secret code cards. It does take a little bit of time searching through, so that's the only issue with the secret code cards. What I'd like you to do is, now you have your secret code cards out, keep those out, actually keep your activity book out, open your notebook. I'd like you to take some notes with me. Okay? So open up your notes in your math notebook. I believe the last notes we took, this is our first notes for this unit. So the last notes we took were with fractions. And we can label this little chart that I made. We're going to be representing numbers in 4 different ways. Representing numbers in 4 ways. So let me add a title to mine. Represent numbers in different ways. And there's 4 different ways that we are going to be practicing. And this might look familiar to you from previous years. It will just be getting a little harder now that we're working more with decimals. And as we represent numbers in different ways, there's 4 ways of doing it that we're going to be practicing. And these take quite a bit of practice. So I need you working really closely with me as I do this example. This has to be in your notes so that you can refer back to your notes when you're doing these independently so you can see examples. Okay? Standard form. So what I'd like you to do in your notes, go ahead and take half a page and create, with about half of a binder piece of paper, create a large box. And with that box, split it into 4 pieces. So split it into 4 pieces. So take your notebook. This is your notebook page. About half of your notebook. Create a box that's split up into 4 pieces like that. And then let's go ahead and add in this information little bit by little bit. So I want you to turn your attention to this first box here. And somewhere at the top of that box, I'd like you to write standard form. And in parentheses, I gave basically what the definition of standard form is. That just means to write the number. What is the number? So the number that we're going to be working with for this example is the number, let me get my number ready, is 35 and 26 thousandths. 35 and 26 thousandths. That's how you say it fluently. And then how I write it out is 35.026. So go ahead and write out standard form and then write what it means. Write the number. And then write out this number, 35 and 26 thousandths. Okay, do you have that into your notes? And in the next box over, what I'd like you to do at the very top, I'd like you to write word form. And then in parentheses, what word form means is how do you say the number aloud? And I already did it. Hopefully you were paying close attention and you're going to say it out loud with me. So how do we say this number out loud? Well, we basically break it up into 2 parts. I'm going to say the whole number. And then when I get to the decimal, I'm not going to say point. I'm not going to say decimal point. I'm going to say the word and. Okay? Anytime you are coming across a number with a decimal, how you fluently say that number aloud is you replace, when you see the decimal, you say the word and. So starting with my first step, 35 is how you say that whole number. And then we practiced this a little bit in the previous lesson. How you say a number that's in decimal form, that's less than 1, is you say the number aloud as if it was a whole number. So I see 026. I'm going to ignore that 0, and I'm going to say how I would say this 26 out loud if it was a whole number. So 26. And then you say the place value in which the last digit is in. So sorry, there's lots of steps. Hopefully you're following along and we'll get plenty of practice, believe me. So I'm going to say 26
And then my 6 is in what place value? Well, I have the decimal, tenths, hundredths. It's in the thousands place value. So I say 26 thousandths. And then when I put that all together, and hopefully yours looks like mine. Do you have word form? How do you say the number out loud in that box? Here's what we're going to write. I'm going to type it out and you're going to write this out. Here's how we say this number out loud. 30. Whoa, that's way bigger than I wanted it to be. Oh, well. 35. And anytime we write on a number with a tens and a ones place, we put a little dash in between, and we'll get practice with that later. And so 35, and I'm writing up the word and to represent the decimal, and then 26, and then what was the place value that the 6 is in? It's thousandths. Oh my gosh, I need to fix this. I apologize. Let me fix my font. Okay, 35 and 26 thousandths is how we say this number aloud. Great. And the box on the left-hand bottom corner says expanded form. You're going to write an addition sentence, and you're going to write what the value is of each digit. And then this is quite a bit of writing. And then you're going to write expanded form powers of 10. You're going to multiply the digit by the place value and then form an addition sentence. So go ahead and write those two in. And then I will talk you through. This is where it gets a little tricky. I'll walk you through, and then we'll be going back to our place value charts. Okay. So go ahead and write that in. And I'm going to start with expanded form powers of 10 first. And you're going to need quite a bit of room. So hopefully you wrote that in. Expanded form powers of 10. You're going to multiply the digit by the place value and form an addition sentence. So basically what we're going to do with our addition sentences is we're going to go digit by digit, and we're going to do a multiplication sentence for each digit, and then basically add them together. And again, this takes more practice, a lot of practice in order to master. So if you're feeling a little lost as we do this, just hang in there, and with more practice, you will get it. So I'm going to do a parentheses, and I'll tell you why in a moment. And I'm going to rewrite. I'm going to go left to right, starting with my largest place value, and I'm going to write the digit, the first digit that I see. So I see 3. I'm going to rewrite 3 times, what do I need to multiply 3 by to get this place value? So the 3 is in what place value? I have my decimal here, so I know my 3s. This is the ones, this is the tens. So are we talking about 3 ones here? We're talking about 3 tens, or 30. 3 times what gives us 30? 10. And you'll see some patterns here. We're going to be basically working with our bases. So 3 times 10 gives us the value of 30. That's the 3. All right. And then I'm going to close that parentheses. I'm going to start a new multiplication sentence, and I'm going to just keep on adding. So plus, and then my other multiplication sentence, I'm going to do it in a parentheses. I'm going to look at my next digit, 5. What place values are 5 in? It's in our ones. It's right next to the decimal. 5 times what gives us 5 ones? Just times 1. And then plus, this is where, this is a trick for you guys. I have 0 in my tenths place value. And I forgot, I actually wanted you to make these with your secret code cards. But I'll just do it for you really quickly. So if I were to make this with my secret code cards, give me one moment and I'll do it really quickly. Here's what I would have. I would have 4 cards listed. This 0 in the tenths place value, it doesn't
have it doesn't have any digits to it, but the 0 there is important to hold its place value, but there's nothing there basically. Okay, so if we're talking about like a money point from like a monetary point of view, this would be 0 dimes basically. So I wouldn't need to continue this addition sentence and say 0 times 0, because what does that equal? It's just 0. So I can skip over this 0. Just make sure that we're doing the correct thing with the next place value. So I'm going to skip over the 0 and I'm going to go to this 2. 2 times what? What place value is this 2 in? Well, it's not 2 ones. It's in fact 2 hundredths. So if I was looking at my secret code card, it would be 2 hundredths or 2 pennies. And how do I go from 2 wholes to 2 tenths? Well, I'm going to multiply it by its place value. And again, I kind of wanted to show you, you can just take a look. I'm going place value by place value. And what I've been doing is I'm multiplying. I can either choose to multiply by these numbers up here or my fraction numbers. It's up to you if you want to multiply it by a decimal or a fraction. I'm going to just multiply it. So we could either do 1/10 or 1/10, decimal or fraction form. I'm going to keep it in fraction form. So now that I saw this 2's in the hundredths place value, 1/100th is what I'm going to write in. 2 times 1/100th is in fact equal to 2 hundredths. So that's good. And then plus, in parentheses, my next digit over is 6. Is this 6 ones? No, it is 6. What place value is it in? 6 thousandths. 6 times what gives me 6 thousandths? Well, if I look at my place value chart over here in the thousands place value, I can use 1,000th or 1,000th, either written as a decimal or a fraction. I'm just going to keep going and write it as a fraction form. 6 times 1,000th is equal to 6 thousandths. Again, this takes some practice, but hopefully you're seeing this is going to be a good thing for you to have in your notebook so you can always refer back to it. So I hope it's nice and neat, and I hope you're following along really closely with me. Again, as I look back on it, I saw that what I did was I took each of the digits, and that was the number I started off my multiplication sentences with. And then I basically multiplied each digit by the place value that it was in. And I added them all together. So that's expanded form powers of 10. And this one over here says expanded form, and then addition sentence, what is the value of each digit? Well, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply these out and write in the value of each of the digits based on its place value. So 3 times 10 is what we wrote over here. What's 3 times 10? It was 30. I want to basically write out what this 3 represents. This 3 in the tens place value represents 30 or 31s, okay? 5 times 1, or what does this 5 right here represent? Plus, that's just 5 ones. What does I'm going to skip over the 0. Again, that would be plus 0 tenths, which is nothing. What does this 2 represent? 2, not wholes, 2 hundredths. It's in the hundredths place value. And then last thing, plus, what does the 6 represent? 6 times 1,000ths. 6 is in the thousands point of view. It's not 6 ones. It is 6 thousandths. Okay? And now we have this number written out in 4 different ways. Standard way, word form, standard form, word form, expanded form, and expanded form powers of 10. And we are going to refer back to this quite a bit in your notes. So again, if you needed more time to copy down what I did, you can press pause. That's the great thing about these videos. Or you can go back to it later as long as you remember to go back to it. And what I'd like you to do, keep your notebook out, keep your secret code cards out. Let's go to page 42 in your book. And you'll see at the top of page 42, we basically just did the example, but I liked it in this kind of layout first. They just kind of listed it. So what they did here is exactly what we just did. And we're going to do 4 examples in class. starting off with numbers that are written in different forms and then continuing on and doing the other 3 forms, okay? So thanks so much for watching. Again, this topic does take quite a bit of practicing. So go ahead and press stop, and thanks for watching.